Previously, in X-Men, Storm has defeated Callisto in single combat for leadership of the Morlocks, a community of subterranean-dwelling mutants, while Wolverine has traveled to Japan for his solo adventure, and see our episodes of that limited series, and Cyclops falls in love in Alaska. Xavier continues to rehabilitate his clone body that is no longer paralyzed from the waist down. On the other end of the spectrum, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants has been having drama of their own. After stealing the powers and memories of the superheroic Ms. Marvel, aka Carol Danvers, the young mutant Rogue has run away from her teammates and adoptive mother Mystique to seek out resolution to the deep mental conflict within. Where will she go, my friends? Only time and the cover of the comic will tell. I am Jason Lapidus.
I am Chris Sanagan.
And we are a group of 7 comics. Welcome to episode 88 of our ongoing Tuesday night live stream read-through of the comics that became classic, as we read Uncanny X-Men 171 by storytellers Chris Claremont and Walter Simonson, and inker Bob Wiacek, cover date of July 1983. Chris, my friend, how are you?
Good. You know, I was thinking in your intro that when you
Sorry, say that again.
Brotherhood, it's almost like Rogue had gone rogue. I was saying that. I was saying that when Rogue left the Brotherhood, Rogue had gone rogue. Rogue, like her namesake, went rogue.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an important. So for those, there's quite a bit of backstory to her. Well, not that much, but enough backstory that was worth noting. So this is your first time ever, reading an X-Men comic. If this issue is your beginning, you kind of need to know that a couple of years back, she had a run-in with Carol Danvers in San Francisco and stole all of her powers and put her basically in a coma and threw her off a bridge. And her life was saved by Spider-Woman, and the X-Men and the Avengers teamed up to kind of solve the mystery of who is this woman and what, who took her powers. As Rogue goes through the Avengers, she absorbs powers and basically defeats the huge team. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants have a big clash. And it's a very exciting kind of thing, like this new powerful mutant on the side of the Devils. And we've seen another encounter with Rogue where she comes face to face with the X-Men and is able to hold her own at the Pentagon. Yeah. She's able to hold her own. They really don't like her. They're very close as a team. They're very close with Carol Danvers. Like, she's lived in the mansion for a while. Her and Storm have been very close. Logan, I don't know how much of it is. I don't think much of it's out yet at this point. Like, I don't think it's realized. Logan has a long history with Carol Danvers when they were both working for their respective spy agencies. So her roots are deep with the team, and emotionally, it really resonates with her, like what happened, obviously, and resonates with the team as well. So they're very sympathetic to her. But it's important to kind of know that relationship is deep before going into this issue, because the inevitable clash is going to carry the emotional weight that goes with those that past assault, right?
Yeah, I like how you positioned it. You said they don't really like her, and yet, so what we're gonna do? Join the X-Men.
I think that's a good Claremontism. Like, we've seen patterns of him bringing in members that have had checkered pasts. Banshee in his first appearance in the X-Men back in before issue whatever it was. Let's just say it's around issue 60. I have no idea. Or even earlier. He is a character that is being basically mind controlled to help with robbery. Right. And when they figure out that, he's not really bad, we're going to, he gets a chance to redeem himself. Wolverine is a character with a past where he's been prone to violence and disobedience and antisocial behavior. And being part of this team is a way for him to redeem himself, Like, a lot of those characters have that arc.
And more importantly, when does Banshee rejoin the team?
Are you're asking this because you want to bring back your amazing, iconic performance?
I just, I need to know. I need to prep myself. We've got
a ways, my friend. A couple of years.
So that's good. I can work with that. I can work a couple of years.
Yeah, we've got some time. I think it's during kind of Mark Silvestri's time. I think we'll start to see Banshee again, and then Jim Lee brings him in as you could argue Jim Lee's like the only artist to ever make Banshee look cool. You could make that argument.
You can make that argument.
So it's going to take.
But the only person that can sound cool right here
is you.
Right here. And your dad's friend who actually voiced him on the X-Men animated series.
True. I've told that story before, but just to tell it super quick, I met a guy who's pals with my dad through golf, who was one of the 2 actors to do the voice of Sean Cassidy Banshee on the X-Men animated series, which was the audio recordings were done here in Toronto.
Yeah.
So lots of Canadians and local acting talent was part of those productions. Yeah, funny. David Cutler is here. David, how are you? I hope you've been having a good start to your week, and I hope you're well. He says, I make that argument every day, Chris Bachalo too, though. So like about Jim Lee making it Banshee cool. Right, Chris Bachalo also makes him cool. I think that's what you're saying. And Chuck says, howdy, ex-friends. Howdy to you, Chuck. Howdy. And you actually get to really pull out a howdy. Like that's legit. When we say it, we're being kitschy. When you say it, I have a hunch it's kind of real. Like the real version, given that you're from South, deep South. Is that correct? Texas?
You're like, he's from your pants? You're like
No. I'm pointing to the South.
The South.
Which is actually that way.
That's right that way. Yeah. I don't know where you are geographically that way for sure.
Is that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? Well, Texas, yeah. So you get to do a howdy. That's sincere. There you go. I like that. I remember picking up this issue in I forget what they call it. Marvel like reissued it once in a couple of years back, and I was actually with you at the Dragon, and I picked it up off the newsstand, off the new issue rack for the month. And I don't know, just it was a X-Men comic I didn't own, and I was like, okay, it's reprinted, so it had modern color, and I have this issue on hold for me at Planet X.
Oh, like so the original.
Yeah, the original one's there. I'm trying to get these issues as we go, or preferably before, but I haven't been there in 2 weeks, so it's been sitting in my folder waiting for me. Chuck says, I do miss the delicate strains of Chris's sweet Banshee Rogue. We all miss that. That's beautifully put, Chuck. Stroke that ego some more, eh? That's good. Very good.
Yeah, it's got to get stroked. Question. So in your introduction, we talked about guest penciler Walter Simonson, friend of the show.
True.
Question, do we know why Mr. Simonson is guest penciling on this issue?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I asked him.
Oh, I would have.
I reached out and I asked him, and I just checked now. He has read my question. Will he respond? I do not know. I was hoping.
Friend of the show, Walt Simonson, respond, please. Thank you.
That would be great. I had written to him a couple times before, just wishing him well and a little bit of gushing, and he's responded both times. So I figured, 2 gushes, maybe now I can pop a question.
Is this over Instagram?
No, actually through Facebook.
Okay, all right.
He's a regular poster on Facebook, and he has a really nice, sweet kind of grandpa edge to him, where sometimes he posts like tech questions like, hey, I'm getting this kind of problem with my internet. Anyone know what I should be doing? And people are really nice, and they help him out. And then he also, posts updates to some of his art. And when he's traveling with
he's like, I can't turn the cat filter off my video. How do I do that?
Right. He comes across as just one of the nicest guys.
That's really cool.
So if I do get a response, I'll definitely update in real time, or next week. But what I basically asked him was, I said, was there a particular reason that you hopped on for this issue? And I put it in context, like within 3 months, he's on Thor for regular duties.
Right.
He drew the X-Men Teen Titans crossover a year earlier.
Right.
And we knew that Cockrum was supposed to do that, but once he got off the title, he wasn't going to do that project, so it went to Simonson. But I just asked him, were you coming in as a fill-in guy to help the team, or were you, was there another reason you were doing this issue? And if I was to, one of the, I think the framework within which I kind of like to think about X-Men comics for the purposes of this read through and this show is to focus on what's on the page. And not so much about like what's happening at Marvel or another, like what happens on the page. How does it read when we're reading it, and how does that compare to things that we've watched and pop culture at large?
Sure.
So on the page, there's no reason that you'd have Simonson. Like there's nothing. It's not like Thor had a guest appearance, or we can see within 5 issues he's drawing New Mutants, and so this was like a tryout issue. Like there's none of that going on.
Right, which we have encountered in the past.
So it could just be that if you look at the duration of Paul Smith's run, it might just be that he needed this one to get the other stuff in order. Have you read ahead yet?
Not at all. I never did.
Oh, dude. So after reading this one, I had to. I jumped ahead to the
next issue. You had to go to 172,
and I have to tell you, I cannot wait. I never read it before. And there's a big revelation as a reader when we get there. Not necessarily a story revelation. Just I learned something about the comics, the X-Men comics, after reading 172, and I'm very, very excited to get there. So it's
because we can share that for 173. We're bringing in another guest, friend of the show, friend of Canadian comics, Canadian comic book writer Jay Torres will join us for issue 173, and he actually, when we've known Jay for a long time, and he recently completed a run on Batman and a few other things like that, and so he reached out and said, "When you get to the Paul Smith episodes, count me in." So that's his sweet spot apparently. So episode 173 of Jay Torres, probably early September. So there you go.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
David says, I get confused as to which issues I own, but I know I own this one.
It's good, man.
David, have you started a checklist, or have you been cataloging things? I for insurance purposes, I started cataloging my comics, and then during the pandemic, I was acquiring so many back issues to fill in runs. Buying stuff online and having it shipped. I needed to make sure I was starting to track it because I didn't want to buy doubles of things. So I started making that like the spreadsheets. And now I know which X-Men, so I know which ones I have and which ones I don't, thankfully. But I haven't done any DC yet. Like I haven't looked at my Batman collection is vast,
right?
And
the best thing is
the largest.
Your catalog is in our shared Google space for Group of 7 Comics, so I get access to it. And so there's been a few times where I've been out and about and found that Jason hasn't got one or two things, and been able to procure a few items.
I'm hoping that you're going to do the same, that you're going to put the things that you're looking for or which ones you're missing so that I can get them when I'm out. That was what my original intent was.
I should do that. I have that list, just not, I'm just going to put it in there. There's
I'll find you Daredevil issues.
5 comics I'm looking for. That's it.
Right.
You already got me one like a month ago with the Mignola Batman, Gotham by Gaslight. So there you go.
Yeah, bro. Chuck says, I loved Simonson's run on Thor. That actually is something that I think we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, because so much of what makes that the run on Thor work is like the artwork matches a lot of the story in that. And I wonder if Simonson is the right fit for X-Men or not. So I'm curious, and we'll see as we go. David says, I need to just keep from buying doubles, but none of what I have is worth enough to worry about the insurance. I hear you. I wouldn't argue that what I have is all that valuable either. I also wanted to avoid buying the doubles, but then, I do have let's just say the McFarlane run on Spider-Man. And I bought those at the time, and like those can be worth a little bit here or there, or some of those Byrne issues and some of the Cockrum issues of X-Men.
Sure.
I have a few issues that bump up against triple digits once in a while, but not a ton, and some Jack Kirby stuff once in a while. Chuck adds, 100%. Thor is the perfect mix of material and style. Yeah, I'm interested in that idea for this one. Chris, I'm going to load this on. Okay, you ready to start?
Yeah, and I just one more thing to think about because you're talking about the Simonson run, and we've talked about other as we go through our X-Men run, other things to consider, other runs, other stories, other creators, other properties, and so we're obviously reading this. We've talked about this every show. So these are PDF scans on a DVD-ROM, mid-aughts, 2005 issues. You mentioned there are a couple other ones.
Yes.
And I had forgotten which ones they were. You clearly got them.
Sorry. What other DVD-ROMs I have?
Yeah, like these DVD-ROM complete sets, because it makes us doing this it facilitates this quite easily. So
I have Spider-Man.
There's a Spider-Man, okay.
I have Hulk. I have Avengers.
Oh, all right.
That might be it. I'm looking to see if I have this cover.
Well, you know what we should do? When we get to a certain point, because obviously we still got a few years left of X-Men in us, but when we get to a certain point, we should do a poll and say, which stories would you like us to do next? Avengers, Hulk, Spider-Man, certain...
I think that is a fun idea. It just has to be something to me that a really meaningful one. That has...
Yeah.
I just was flipping through. There's that, but I don't. That's the Simonson Beta Ray Bill.
That's Beta Ray Bill. Yeah.
So that original's here in this amazing artist edition. It's so big.
It's very big.
So big, but not this Rogue cover. I was wondering because as a reader, I never realized until today that is supposed to be the gates of Xavier's Institute, like the. I'm guessing that's what's supposed to be the gates, like of the school, the property.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But I think when I was looking at this other times, I always just thought of it as something like just maybe buildings in the background. I never really looked.
Right. Like Danger Room or something.
Something. But she's sort of, running in or running out of the property. Maybe running out as they're telling her to get the hell out of here. I don't like the gates. I don't think it works. I don't think it reads clearly. And the scale seems really far off, especially when you see Kitty in the background there.
Yeah. And also the choice of, because her costume is, similar color to Sprite, there's not enough difference there really, right?
I think this is key. I think it's key to where Kitty's costume goes.
Okay. Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. All right.
Because Rogue's costume, she's always been green.
Right.
In every iteration of Rogue, green is her flare color,
And the version from the animated series in the 90s, that's the Jim Lee redesign of her?
Yeah, where yellow's pretty prominent, but green is there. It's all over. It's the bodysuit is green with the yellow in the middle.
Okay.
Every version of her, green is her signature color. And each of the X-Men have these, kind of unique colors or distinctive color palettes. Kitty's has been the one that's been in flux now as she's entering third or fourth costume, sort of, that's repeating. This one's been repeating for a couple issues, but it hasn't settled until we see her John Romita Jr. blue one, which I think will last a long time. I think he's the artist who gets that one, but yeah, she's not a yellow and green character, but Rogue is. So I also found it a strange choice to have the title in greens, given that there is so much green in the rest of the cover.
Right.
But anyway.
And a nod to previous issue, welcome Kitty Pryde, the X-Men. Hope you survived the experience.
Right.
Right.
Hold that thought for a second.
Sure.
David says, I started buying comics in 92. My childhood collection isn't worth the glossy image paper it's printed on. Fair point. My childhood collection starts in maybe, 84, 85. So I was getting back issues in the 80s that were, some of them have done well. Chuck says, those gates have been tagged by the Joker. Yeah. The purple highlights there. That's cool. Whoa. They are the gates. I thought they were chasing her into the danger room. There you go. I don't think it reads well. That's why Kitty throws off the scale. Agreed. Whole lot of green on this cover. Yeah, we're on the same page, guys. The green purple thing, I get it. I mean, with the villain colors, right? That's like the Spidey language, Marvel language of what villains wear is green and purple. So the cover adornment makes sense, but it gets a little cluttered from a color point of view. The other thing I wanted to mention about Kitty is we've talked about the character that's like your entry point character. And how, or the window character, whatever you want to call her. And for the movies, we know, of course, it's Rogue and Logan, who are both going on the team at the same time. And in the animated series, of course, it's Jubilee who's joining the team. So that's your character you go in with. And in the comics, for me, it was Kitty Pryde.
Sure.
And so it's sort of neat to now, for the first time, to read the Rogue version of how do I get introduced to the team, under what circumstances. And whereas Kitty's coming in as like they go to recruit her, this is a very different story. And I'm really on board for just having a different way of the entry point. They're not rescuing her like they do with Jubilee in the cartoon. They're not recruiting her like they do with Kitty in the comic. And it's not the same as Rogue on the movies either, where, they're rescuing her. This is something else entirely, which I love how it's emotionally loaded in a unique way for our reading pleasure. So I'm in. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Cheers, bro.
All right. Yeah.
I'm gonna go full screen with this if you don't mind.
Go full screen.
And I didn't bother including the X-Men Classic cover. They're getting more and more garish each month, and even just the logo annoys me that they've taken the X-Men logo that's so perfectly designed and they've stretched it and blocked in the word classic ugly style. And yeah, so I'm not even going to bother with it. It's Adam Hughes, who's really talented, but it doesn't add anything. It doesn't feel X-Men to me, so I'm leaving it out. Yeah, Rogue's face is awesome here. As a kid, I didn't realize this was Walt Simonson. I always thought this was Rick Leonardi. Leonardi was a regular X-Men fill-in guy and did a run as well. So there was a certain Leonardi energy to Rogue's pose. That's who I thought it was when I was little. So, and it still looks like that to me. But yeah, she looks terrified. It's Absolutely.
Good. I would if I had that big metal man behind me.
Yeah.
The crush. Okay. Shall we jump into it?
Please. I think you've clicked it and we're just waiting for it to show. There you go.
All right.
So this is a great splash.
Fantastic.
And I was wondering, there's a lot of Simonson in it, obviously, like the staging of the character's hands, like, he has not gone and drawn a full image and like plotted out where all the hands are. He's just sort of him and Miller and those kinds of artists just like sticking some random hands in there. So it looks like they're in a good spot. And it really works. But I find that pose, that if you told me that was Paul Smith doing the under pencil, I would have believed you. Like the body language looks like Paul Smith and the composition, it's just beautiful. So there might be some neat overlap in their, as contemporaries, like in their style a tiny bit.
I was going to say,
yeah, it feels like it's where the two guys meet.
Yeah, I was going to say it's less without really knowing too much of the artists involved, and so therefore maybe not level of sophistication in terms of identifying bits and pieces of their technique. This is so much less jarring than going from and again, we like to use it a bit as a
punching bag
a little bit, but Dave Cockrum, when his style was so him that when you brought on, and we think anachronistic a little bit, but at the time, but when you bring in a different guest, which happened a couple of times, the style shift was jarring. Not to say it was bad, it just was noticeable and jarring. And this, I knew right away, Walt Simonson on pencils, and the first thing I looked at, and it just seems to flow with the Paul Smith aesthetic. Or at least more closely anyway.
Yes, for sure. And I love her hair. It's not meant to be illustrative, exactly how long her hair is. It's expressing something. He's cartooning here, right? The savagery of the moment and just and creating some motion. He's using it as an element to help break up that negative space. It's really dramatic. And now she's, those who have been reading all the issues, which include here David and Chuck, we know that she just finished the combat with Callisto. That's Callisto's vest. So that is, without having to tell us in the words, Chris Claremont, it's showing us in the picture like, oh, this is the trophy, like, or this is the
pelt. It's kind of like
the pelt. There
right?
you go. Way to make it primal. Yeah, it's the piece that tells you who the leader of the Morlocks is. And in this case, there's no question who it is. It's just amazing and very expressive. I love it. You ready?
Let's do it.
Morlocks! It's so hard to keep a straight face reading that stuff. By right of combat, I, Storm, am now your leader. My word is law. You can see a little homage to OMAC. Do you know who OMAC is?
Yeah, that's Kirby, right? One Man Army Corps.
There you go. Look at you.
Did I get it right? Okay.
There's no way that Simonson could draw this mohawked guy and not have Kirby's OMAC on the mind.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't just... It's not meant to be OMAC, I would say, but he's just looking for fun things. I'm sure it can't, a little bit in his brain.
Mm-hmm.
He draws a lot of real ugly people.
He does. He does.
Yeah. If you wish to live apart from humanity in these tunnels 1,000 feet below the streets of New York, then so be it. But no more will you treat its inhabitants as prey. He also does a really good job in the next panel of creating depth of field, right? Like bunches of people. So the first group are in color, the second group are in silhouette, the third group are in like minimal detail and just sort of color. And it in that Mignola way that we love from Mike Mignola, like you can feel that there is a like staging of where these people are grouped, and it really works.
Mm-hmm.
You will not attack them for money or for sport. You will not steal their children to swell your ranks. You will not kill them.
When I read that, I was like, geez, are they stealing kids?
Yep.
No idea.
And
they hunt us. We're mutants. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, saying hello to Toying Around.
Oh, there you go.
Hello there.
They hunt us. We're mutants. Like you, Storm. Outcasts. Hated simply because we exist. Why shouldn't we give as good as we get?
Because I forbid it. Are any here willing to challenge me? What a good Storm face.
Great Storm face.
So good. I thought not. Like that Storm face is forever, like iconic forever Storm.
Right.
That's not Byrne era. That's not soft, foreigner Storm. This is like, could be Storm from any era.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, Paul Smith really put it together, and Walt Simonson, I think, is just kind of following along with the tone he's setting.
I would have liked to see another panel between those two where perhaps it's them, are you going to challenge me? And they kind of look at each other.
Yeah, the silence.
And then I thought not, right? Like that's the third panel, right?
Yeah.
You get that moment of consideration / just not willing to.
Yeah, silence goes a long way. And unfortunately, in this case, it happens in the gutter.
Mm-hmm.
But when we see the silence, it goes a long way, I think. If you would have peace and a secure future, Morlocks, trust me, do as I command. The alternative is too terrible to contemplate. What do you think the alternative is?
Yeah, her killing them all.
Yes.
Right? I think.
Lightening them up.
Yeah, lighten them up. Yeah, it's something else. Storm.
You shouldn't be up, Callisto. You'll reopen your wound.
Enjoy your triumph while you can, Wind Witch, because I'm not done with you. I'll have my rightful place again. I will lead the Morlocks, and I'll have your heart in the bargain.
We have crossed knives once, little mutant. Don't push your luck. Sunder, put your mistress back to bed. And this time, make certain she stays there.
The throat grab by Storm. Just, wow. Just something else. You seem to be going out of your way to make an enemy of Callisto.
We were enemies the moment we met, Nightcrawler. We shall remain so till the day we die. Nothing I do will ever change. Nothing I do or say will ever change that.
Perhaps, but the Aurora I remember would have at least tried.
Before you go further,
Yeah.
I'm trying to like learn how these guys kind of get away without doing backgrounds, but still feel like there is a stage, like there's staging happening.
Sure.
So it's pretty common that you'll see with the guys that keep their monthly schedule in the 80s, that one panel on every page gives you a sense of setting. So, you know, get that top panel where we're in a tunnel, like we're in a water drain, you know, and that circle motif then carries on in that last panel where like Storm is just walking in the spotlight for a moment. There's no other backgrounds, but it really reads just fine. Like you don't really need much more, you know?
Absolutely.
You can get away with a lot without doing a lot sometimes. And maybe background's overrated if you overdo it. I think something I struggle with is like letting it go, but at least the colorist, where like with our early comics, there was no flat green tone to put down.
Right.
So I was like just trying to fill the space with line or something or shape, but you really don't need to. Just a neutral tone will go a long way. Or black.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She would have died rather than kill another. Yet in the duel, Aurora stabbed Callisto through the heart. Only the fact that one of Callisto's fellow Morlocks was a healer, unable to survive. Aurora is changing before my eyes. But what truly terrifies me is that she doesn't seem to mind.
Anchorage, Alaska. Outside, the air is bitter cold, though it's technically spring. Within the house, though, a fire warms the bedroom, its flames casting a cheery glow across the sleeping figure of Madeline Pryor. She is in dreamland, and the visit isn't pleasant.
Do you want me to do Madeline?
Sure.
No! Dear Lord in heaven, no!
Madeline! What's the matter? I heard you scream.
Scott! Hold me, please, tight as you can. I need someone, something real, to prove to myself that I'm still alive.
Wow. It's a long time before her tears pass and Madeline is once more calm enough to speak. All the while, Scott Summers waits patiently, doing what he can to help her, comfort her. Notice how they're wearing the pajamas?
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's just like a fun little thing. Like, I don't even know if kids would notice it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just
yeah.
It's good.
Exactly.
Before coming north, I was a commercial pilot, 747s, the big time. My last flight was a long haul into San Francisco. We ran into a freak storm, lost an engine, barely made it home. As we touched down, the wing collapsed. We crashed. There was an explosion. Fire all around me, screams. So many screams. I don't remember the details. I don't want to. Everybody died but me. I wasn't even scratched. I still have nightmares about it. September 1st, 1980. My own personal day of infamy.
But that's the day Jean Grey died. What?
Bum, bum, bum.
Okay, we got to pause for a minute. I know that you and I know partially where this is going because we've already been there in other times in our lives. But if you're reading this for the first time, as I'd like to imagine we are,
sure.
What do you make of that? Like, is she supposed to be... Okay, somehow she is absolutely linked to Jean Grey.
Right.
She is a spitting image of her.
Yep.
She has been in a fiery crash the same day that Jean Grey died.
Yep.
She loves Scott.
Yeah.
Like, are we supposed to think that maybe they're... Like, Chris Claremont is setting up that Jean Grey can come back through her?
Right. Like, is this like is she the manifestation of Jean's soul or something? Right. Like,
right, in another body.
In another body. Yeah.
Is that how you would read that so far?
Okay, so without knowing the story of Madeline Pryor, because I don't. I mean,
Okay, good, because it's
right?
not as good as what you're going to come up with now.
Okay, there you go. Without knowing that piece, it does feel like that. It feels like Phoenix power, so ultimate, able to transform, transfigure something along the lines of. There's a part of Jean Grey that was so strong and willed so strongly to survive that this is the result.
Right. Okay. Hey, Trevor, how are you? Somehow, Jean Grey returned. I feel like it's the same thing, and I know a little bit about the behind the scenes of what's to come, and
Sure.
I don't mind spoiling. We know that Jean Grey does come back.
Right.
When it happened in real time in publication history, I was reading X-Men at that point, and I was reading X Factor when it started, and the idea of the original X-Men coming back for their own series was enough for me as a kid to get me on board with starting that series from the beginning.
Right.
And I loved getting, they had to getting on with a number one. It was sort of special. And
for X Factor,
yeah.
Are they the X Factor? Or is like one of them the X Factor? You know what I'm saying?
Do you want to know what X Factor is in the title?
Yeah,
they're Ghostbusters for mutants.
Ghostbusters for mutants.
And they're posing as the Ghostbusters.
Okay.
They're
each of them with an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on their back.
Pretty much, and you'll see when we get there, we'll probably flash a few images of the first issue. So yes, they're wearing Ghostbuster style, like hazmat kind of painter suits.
Okay.
And they have proton packs, and their idea is that when you have a mutant problem, who are you going to call? X Factor. So the world doesn't know that they are the original X-Men. They think this is like the Ghostbusters, and you call them, and then they go handle your mutant problem. But secretly, they go in, they try and calm down the situation, and then they recruit the mutant or help them in some ways. And if they need to go to Xavier's school, that's somewhere they're going to go, or send them to the Morlocks, kill them, whatever they got to do.
Right.
Put them in the Phantom Zone.
So they are the X Factor when it comes to mutant-human relations.
I think just the idea of having another spin-off title with the letter X in it was essential, given that New Mutants failed to put that in place.
Okay.
As an X-Men spin-off, they called them, maybe the wrong title from a branding point of view, as Rob Liefeld is quick to point out, which I agree with him completely. I mean, who wants to have the only X-Men comic book without the word X in it? But I was going to say that bringing Jean back was not Chris Claremont's idea.
Okay.
And that when we hear about in every interview, that's a Jim Shooter. That's an editorial decision to have a new spin-off book with the original team, and therefore you just got to bring Jean back to complete the set. So I'm wondering, reading this and thinking about like where this is going to go, is Chris Claremont opening a door for Jean to come back in a way that is, in big quotations, natural from a storytelling point of view, and he is then sabotaged by the editorial decision to, reunite the original five and a new title and bring Jean back in a clunky but okay way, right down the road around 1986 or 85. Okay. I'm wondering about that. So this feels to me like this is Claremont just wedging the door a little bit so that we can possibly open it when we need to.
Gotcha.
Sorry. David says, it sounds like you're making up the X Factor stuff, but that's the real deal. Thank you for the support, David. Chuck says, of course it's a Jim Shooter move to bring Jean back. Right. They promised, like, if they kill her, they're killing her for real. Claremont and Byrne wanted her gone once they decided to kill her. It's like, if you're going to kill her, then we're going to kill her. We're not playing games. And that was, but of course, you remember the story that they didn't plan on killing her in the first place. But if you're going to do it right. And so they wanted her dead, eventually to stay dead when she was there. Okay. So I've already said what I think this is. Okay. So who knows? We'll have to ask Chris and see what Chris says.
Yeah. Friend of the show, Chris Claremont. Get him on.
So no response yet from Walt Simonson, by the way.
Oh, well, Walt, you're listening. You're watching. Drop us a line.
Yeah, or you're welcome to come on and talk through it. I'm happy to. He can read the part of whatever character he wants.
Whoever you want to do, man. I will gladly give up Nightcrawler if you want.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And Louise, welcome too, of course. Okay. It goes without saying. It's an open invitation. Jean Grey died. That's dramatic. All right.
Okay.
Scene shifts here. Beverly, Massachusetts, a suburb of Boston, the home of Joseph and Marie Danvers.
When will we see you next, Carol?
Hard to say, Dad. I'll be moving around a lot to some pretty hairy places. Other galaxies, other planets, maybe some dimensions. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, stay in touch, will you? We'll miss you.
I'll miss you too, Dad.
Take care, Carol. Even superheroes aren't immortal.
It's like Ma Kent there.
It's Ma Kent there, yeah.
Don't I know it?
Is everything all right, dear? You seemed different lately.
I'm fine, Mom. Really. This is one where I feel like Simonson did not have in his mind, like, I don't know, kind of the right image of what Carol Danvers is as a figure.
Yeah.
She looks, it's okay for her to be wearing baggy clothes. That's not an issue. But I don't know. I think with the heavy eyelids, maybe she's looking a little droopy. As opposed, like, if you want to make her look like Charlize, so put her in baggy clothes, I'm all in. But this picture just doesn't. I don't know. The render doesn't do her justice, I think. I never could fool her. When I was Ms. Marvel, she recognized me right off the bat, and now she knows I've changed. If only she knew how much, for good and ill. Charles Xavier did his best to restore my memories after Rogue had stripped them and my powers from me. Thanks to him, I remember pretty much all of who I was. But there are no emotions to go along with them. I'm a sociopath now. I'm dead inside. Where once I loved them with all my heart, I feel a vague affection. That's what Mom noticed. What disturbed Mom and outrages me. A loss that can never be replaced. But what's done is done. Feeling sorry for myself won't make it any better. My life as Carol Danvers may be over, but Benares has just begun.
Benares has just begun.
Benares, yeah.
Benares.
Also, like, sometimes his poses for, like, power poses, they don't always sing. Like, I know he's going quick. Like, he's working. He's talked a little bit in the past about how he handled deadlines. And he talks about, he's one of those kinds of guys that would often sit around for a couple of weeks and then push out in a comic in 2 weeks as opposed to 4.
4 weeks, right?
Like, just plow through it and, like, work all day, all night for a couple of weeks. And then the other weeks, you kind of go see a movie and kind of chill and take it a little easier. And
Court Louise,
I'm definitely not criticizing, but I wish he had rethought this page just a tad. Yeah. Change that angle with Binary, maybe, where she's either coming, like, the fact that she's going kind of parallel with the plane of the page, as opposed to toward or away from. She's doing kind of neither. It lacks a little bit of dynamic there. Anyway. Professor Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters.
I'm gonna kill him.
Is this really necessary, Kitty?
How can I do any work with the proper lesson programs for my computer? And how can I keep track of the programs if those darn new mutants keep swiping my floppy disks? I've looked everywhere, Ileana. They're probably lost forever thanks to those stupid X-babies.
I love that she calls them X-babies, and that becomes a thing. Do you want to explain what a floppy disk is?
Oh, sure. So in the before times, there was, how I mentioned we were using a DVD-ROM to showcase these comics on the show tonight. A floppy disk is about 5 generations before that. when it comes of adding information to a disk-like format. You then insert it in your computer to then read the information.
Yeah, they were slow and they stored nothing.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Did you ever come across? I guess in your career you probably have.
Oh yeah.
But did you ever use on a home computer or at school cassettes to store information?
Not at home. Certainly at work.
Right.
Coming across old formats. But why did you?
Yes, my earliest video games were on cassette.
Right.
And we had to use the counter on the cassette deck to fast forward or rewind to that particular number to access that particular game.
Wow.
So we had to keep like a log next to the cassette player where we would know, okay, pole position is at 901. And then so you'd fast forward 901 and press play, and then that would process the information on the computer.
Oh my goodness.
Excuse me. Oh my God. Oh yes, Kitty does look so young. It's good. She is young, so I don't mind that at all. Those darn mutes keep swiping my floppy disks. I know, it's so good. Stupid ex-babies keep taking my magnetic tape reels. Yeah, it's exactly. Oh my gosh. Then what's that under your keyboard?
My discs.
Right where you left them.
I'm such a jerk.
No argument there. And he's trying something with this face.
He really is. I don't know if he succeeds.
I don't know if he succeeds, but he's definitely
trying something.
And I like that. Go shoot for it. It's all good. 10 meters below the mansion is the danger room, now set to gymnasium mode, where Charles Xavier does his daily exercises under the watchful eye of his true love, Lilandra. A paraplegic for half his life, Xavier's brain was recently transplanted into a new body, cloned from the original in like 2 panels. See X-Men 167. You can also watch the episode on our channel if you'd like. This body is undamaged, in perfect condition. He should be able to walk, yet inexplicably he cannot. No more, Lil, I beg you.
Problems?
When I use my legs, the psychosomatic pain I feel inhibits my sonic powers, especially the ability to screen out other people's thoughts. Kitty Pride's been throwing a tantrum. It's giving me a devil of a headache. A moment's meditation or meditation, either one, should deal with it. There, that's much better. I wish I could eliminate the phantom pain as easily.
You should be able to. You are, after all, the strongest mutant mind on Earth, among other things.
What do you suggest?
We could play doctor.
Lilandra!
Seriously, Charles, I would like to give you a thorough examination. Perhaps your condition isn't psychic in nature, but physical.
There's a prostate exam coming in there.
That's a flip over, buddy.
Yep. Poor guy. Okay. Upstairs, in the kitchen, another of Xavier's students, Pyotr Nikolaevich Rasputin, ponders the complex mysteries and inherent contradictions of a cookbook. Oh, the big dummy.
Oh, lummox. Eggs, bacon, cream, butter, spices, sliced beef, mixed bacon in half an hour. Quiche Lorraine, it looks simple enough.
I want you to read a grocery list. Just every day, Chris Sanagan reads a grocery list in the accent of Colossus. Colossus, we have a visitor.
At once, Professor. I felt the professor's fatigue through his thought projection. I hope he is not pushing himself too hard. He addressed me as Colossus. That indicates an element of danger.
That's some good afterthought writing there, huh?
Mm-hmm. He looks very Clark Kenty there, right? Like very, very Clark Kent.
In I think it might be Thor 337 or 338. Like Clark Kent is in it, and Clark and Lois are completely in that issue of Thor. Walt draws them in. There's a scene where like Nick Fury and maybe even Thor give a press conference, and like the first reporters in the room are Clark and Lois.
That's great.
Even colored properly for like superpower style.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Great. That's fun. And that shifts into my armored form. You!
Oh no.
Don't hit me, please. What's that?
No, I wasn't sure who was going to read it.
I knew it.
I'm so relieved you started. Go for it.
Don't hit me, please. Don't hit me. I don't want to fight. I need the X-Men's help. I gotta have it, or I'm as good as dead.
Before you go further,
Sure.
Great job, by the way.
Oh, hey, thanks.
That this picture also feels like it could have been Paul Smith's.
Right.
In that, like, he really plays with how big Colossus could be. It's at times like he made him bigger.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a really great composition. If Smith had done a version of this, and Simonson is like, again, maybe drawing over Smith's really loose breakdown, it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
It is great.
Later, I look at she's still wearing the vest.
Yeah.
She didn't take it off. Like, and the cape is gone.
She won it, right? It's combat. Like she's
but it's like part of that transformation.
Yeah, it really is.
So the cape is gone, and like the vest is on, and like I feel like this is that in between point between this and the punk version of Storm. And yeah, it's cool. I didn't realize it was going to be gradual, so I'm down. Her name is Rogue, a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Through direct physical contact, she absorbs the abilities and the memories of others.
Could this be a diversion? A prelude to an attack?
I've scanned the estate, Nightcrawler. She is quite alone. Why are you here, child? What do you want?
You're the telepath, Xavier. You tell me.
David says, I'm sure the vest smells terrible.
That's good call, David.
From a synergy between writer and artist here, like notice how Storm's second line goes over, the speech balloon goes over Colossus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if, like, you know, the more issues you do with Claremont, the more you learn you need to leave room.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe this is one of those times where he didn't expect that she would need 2 word balloons instead of 1. You know?
Totally.
Yeah. Stinky vest. Professor Xavier, if you please. I cannot effectively read your mind, Rogue. You possess 2 diametrically opposed thought patterns. One of them, alien. It sets up an interference pattern I am thus far unable to penetrate.
How large his cranium is in that one, eh?
Yeah, man, go for it.
Just
That's the persona I absorbed from Carol Danvers when I absorbed her powers last year. I didn't intend the transfer to be permanent. It was an accident. It's driving me crazy, Professor. You gotta help me.
You've got a lot of nerve, Rogue, asking that after all you've done.
Hush, Kitty. Go on, Rogue.
There's that face again, right?
Yeah. I get it. Like,
I know.
It's also like part of that anime thing, you know, like the
Right.
very exaggerated youthful faces. It just doesn't really read. Neither does the Rogue face next to it.
No, much older. Yeah, it does not look like it.
Yeah.
My powers are out of control. The slightest touch triggers a transfer. It's getting so I don't know anymore which thoughts and memories or feelings are mine. I look in the mirror, I see a stranger's face. If you ask me, the most apt punishment for your crimes.
What? Oh, David, if it's giving you those vibes, then it's worth it.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, that's so good. That's such a great episode of Simpsons. On the mouth. It's so good.
Oh, wow. Wonderful stuff.
David's breaking the mood. What are you doing, man?
It's totally legit.
Yeah, it is.
I tried to make Mystique understand, but she wouldn't listen. She was certain we could work things out on our own. I love her, Professor. She's been like my mom to me, but I knew she was wrong. Turned to the X-Men, even though we're enemies, because you're my only hope. Give me a break.
Kitty!
I didn't say anything.
Your thoughts were plain enough.
That's not fair because you're a jerk, Professor.
True, we've stated so many times. Are you being fair to Rogue?
Is there any reason why we should be, mein Herr? I expect your dislike and distrust of her X-Men, but I would rather not...
Hold on.
Sorry.
It's okay. You're reading on the screen. It's not easy to do. And
Yeah, no, that's all you.
I accept your dislike and your distrust. Oh, sorry. I accept your dislike and distrust of her X-Men, but I would rather not conduct an examination with such concentrated negative emotions so close at hand. I'll summon you when I'm finished. You can see, like in Simonson's cartooning, he's like trying to show that this is kind of turning the heads of everybody, including Storm and Colossus. They're like, Are you sure this is wise, Professor? She is dangerous. Lalandra and I can take care of ourselves, Storm. And as for Rogue, I believe we have nothing to fear from her. Ah, poor kid.
She's broken.
Yeah.
Well, and so this is something. So up to now, we haven't really established Rogue's age, right? She seems to be an adult woman, but this suggests also when she goes to Xavier's school, because of course, even with like Colossus and Nightcrawler, like I think she's part of that cohort age-wise, but it's not very consistent, but maybe young 20s, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
In this panel, like look at Nightcrawler's shoulder pad thing. It's like massive off of his shoulder. I just feel like Simonson's rushing some of it, but anyway.
I have never heard them so angry. What did we do? Should we leave him alone with Rogue?
The professor gave us little choice, Kurt. We must assume he knows best.
I can't just stand around waiting, Aurora. It'll drive me as nutso as Rogue. I want to hit something. So what else is new?
She has a point, Colossus. Perhaps a session in the danger room will cool all our various tempers and frustrations. This panel looks like Paul Smith too. The way he composes, the size of the character, and the way that, and this sounds so weird, and I've been paying attention to it, the way he highlights the chestal regions of Storm's costume. I had to draw this once, and I realized I was wholly unprepared to draw highlights on Storm's costume. And so I have been paying extra attention to it every time we come across another artist. And Smith narrows it down to just like a really good round organic shape, a simple highlight, and this has his signature on it to me. But yeah, there you go. And so, have fits and tantrums become your solutions to everything, Kitty?
They get results.
I suppose, if you're fond of black eyes and sore throats.
We are ready whenever you are, little sister.
Famous last words, big brother.
What's the program?
That's my surprise. Here we go. In the edition I have, this is not a page. Like the page turn is now.
Oh, I see.
And, which is interesting how it's different, but so be it. In the blink of an eye, the master computer transforms the room from a featureless steel box into the throne chamber of the other dimensional demon lord Belasco. And note, please, faithful viewers, that at the top left of this panel, there is a corpse along the wall with its chest cavity caved in and rotted out, which is like the corpse of Colossus in another dimension, as well as the demon Nightcrawler that's there.
Demon Nightcrawler.
And there's Belasco on the throne and Saim, his Ben Grimm-esque aide, kind of the muscle to go with Belasco's demon plotting. Months ago, he kidnapped Ileana, and although the X-Men's rescue was successful, a fearful price was paid. For Belasco's domain, the normal rules of time did not apply. What to the X-Men was a visit of a few hours was to Illyana an exile lasting years. She entered a child and emerged an adolescent with no accent.
That's right.
What happened in between, only she knows. She and the sorcerer she called Master. Belasco.
Illyana, have you flipped? What are you even thinking of?
Yes, G.I. Joe.
That's right. I thought you actually might dig that page.
I do.
Yeah.
That looks like some Herb Trimpe art, especially on that hawk face.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
the game, I've never played it. I bet you.
That's a haircut you could set your watch to.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Colonel Clayton Abernathy.
I'm aborting your sequence, reverting the room to normal. Did you do this intentionally, Illyana? Was this your surprise? You scared the life out of me, and I'll bet the others as well. Belasco's one creep I never want to see again, even as a holographic illusion, and I figured you'd feel the same. Hey, Illyana, are you okay?
See, she got the red eyes, man.
Oh, yeah.
Eyes.
I'm reading it in black and white.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Right. Red eyes, yeah.
I guess not. Illyana, it's me, Kitty, your roommate, your best friend. Where'd that sword come from? Yow, she means business. My cheek, I'm bleeding. But I was phasing. The blade should have passed harmlessly through me.
Like, that's where Walt Simonson shines. Like, that sword swing is epic.
Mm-hmm.
It's going through the ceiling. It's going through the wall.
Yeah.
It's tearing through the world. And she is, like, the force of it. You know, it looks like it's almost swinging her. Like, he's so great at that side of things that it really works. And just from a really good storytelling point of view, you know, it starts on one side of the page, and then that swing takes you through the panel, like right around, and gets you ready for, and then like as a directional device, then Kitty's body leads you down to the next panel, like through her arms and then to the next. That stuff's like just top notch from him.
And what also like a reveal where we have not seen Illyana's power set to date. I think this is the first, you know, and the sword comes out.
Yep.
Kitty's like, where'd that come from? And it is apparently it can cut through her phasing.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh, next level. She doesn't recognize me. She means to kill me. And she'll do it too if I'm not careful. I've got to disarm her. Keep her that way till she recovers her senses.
So we're supposed to read here to understand that she's like gone and touched Illyana's arm so that the sword is like left her grip kind of thing.
Yeah,
she's kicked it. Pardon me.
Yeah,
like Wolverine using her martial arts. Okay, she's kicked it out of her hand. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Kitty, where am I?
With friends. You're home. You're safe.
I saw Belasco. I remembered.
Katya, what happened? Illyana is crying.
And then just go back to that open panel. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, that's another place where he shines. And it might be another person doing a little bit of that layout. I don't know. But obviously it's within his ability to do so. Like, just the body language of Illyana, the way that the hips go one way and the shoulders go the other. And she's like in that hug bundle. It's just perfect. Just really, really great. Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, I was going to say, it was an accident. She wasn't paying attention when she programmed the simulation. She kind of freaked when she saw Belasco. So did we all catch him. She'll be fine, guys. Just give us some time to ourselves, okay? It's no big deal. Please. She'll be all right. Everything's going to be all right.
I agree with you there, Chuck. Chef's kiss to that middle panel, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Later, in Aurora's attic loft, where any other artist would have drawn her naked in this scene, and besides Paul Smith and Walt. I feel like Byrne and Cochran both would have had her naked, so I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely.
By the way, that previous ad on the other page, for my recognition,
Yeah.
the first time I ever saw Wolverine is this ad in another comic.
Ah.
I did not know who or what he was.
He's a happy-go-lucky fella.
But that is my first remembered sight of him.
Very cool.
Anyway,
Very
yeah.
cool.
A bad day, getting steadily worse. We have often wondered whether the link remains between Ileana and Belasco, but have been reluctant to pry. Perhaps it is time we did. And what of my own problem? Poor things, you look parched. I fear I have neglected you of late. Forgive me. A thought summons clouds, creates rain, sends it sweeping across the room. I wish I could control my life, my destiny, as easily as I do the weather. Ironic, huh, Chris?
Ironic.
I cannot believe the things I have done. The duel, this morning's confrontation with Callisto, they all fly in the face of all that I have ever believed about myself. And yet, this same inner metamorphosis seems to be making me a better leader of the X-Men. Is that bad? I feel as though I stand at a crossroads. To remain an X-Man, especially as leader, I must sacrifice the beliefs that give my life meaning. Yet the alternative means leaving those I love forever. This is my home. They are my family. How can I desert them? And Xavier told me the day we met that my powers would be used for the benefit of all humanity. Was I wrong to listen? Can I deny that responsibility? I do not know. I do not know. Oh? Thunder? My rain shower has grown into a full-fledged storm. It is destroying my plants. A gesture, a thought, disperses the storm as easily as it was first created. But the damage has been done. Weather around me always reflects my emotional state. My anxiety, my confusion, my fear manifested themselves as violence, and my poor plants suffered for it. Storm, my examination of Rogue is finished. Please report to my study. Goes for the knife. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It is because of you that I became an X-Man, old man. And that decision is destroying me.
Yeah.
He throws it right through the projection of his head.
Mm-hmm.
That's some,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty dark.
Mm-hmm.
As I broke my Psylink with Storm, I caught a thought flash from her. She's unusually disturbed.
Have you probed deeper to learn why?
That will have to wait. Rogue is my primary concern at present. If it is a serious problem, she'll tell me. She'll no doubt tell me. Whoa, boy. The mansion is having a mood this issue. Yes, sir.
Yes.
And it's only going to get more moody. I've questioned Rogue at length and am convinced of both her need and her sincerity. Therefore, I've decided to admit her not only to the school, but to the X-Men as a probationary member. No. I beg your pardon, Storm? I lead the X-Men, Professor. I think that entitles me to some say in this matter. You know Rogue's history. Are we expected to fight beside someone we do not, dare not trust, who might betray us at any time? Meanwhile, an unsuspecting binary at last returns home. And there you get your quiet panel. Right?
There you get your moment of calm, right?
Yes, perfect. And then amazing.
Wow.
My goodness. I've been hit before, but never like this. I don't know who that hussy is or why she slugged me, but I aim to make her regret it. So she punched her into space.
Up there,
There.
She's up
And
there.
we're getting a bit of when I first came across this page, I thought, okay, so now we've got a bit of the limitations, or maybe not limitations, but the scope of Rogue's power set if she is in space.
Yeah, she's super.
Yeah.
I don't think this was Xavier's doing. He looked as surprised as the X-Men.
X-Men, are any of you injured?
Wow, that was some punch. Binary, where is she? Outside, Tovarish, waiting for Rogue.
That's the spirit, kiddo. Come and get me. If you can.
Binary, no more.
Let me go, you big lummox. I don't want to hurt you, Peter.
You'll have to if you wish to continue this fight. Is that what you want?
Chuck says Rogue got punched into a planetarium.
Oof.
Yeah, well, that's cool. It does kind of look like that a little bit.
Okay.
I want vengeance, Peter. Is that so wrong? Yeah, literally it is.
Yes.
Binary.
Yeah,
Vengeance is,
yeah.
yes. Not okay. Not okay. So long as Rogue remains under my roof, Binary, she has my protection. How can you say this, Charles? You know better than anyone what she did to me. The child repents, my friend, and has been forgiven. Behold, our newest X-Man. Is this true? I wouldn't have thought you capable of such cruelty.
What are you talking about? What's my life got to do with you, huh? We never even met before today.
Perhaps this will help.
Carol Danvers.
The woman whose life you destroyed, Rogue. Except that now you possess the power to do... except now I possess the power to do the same to you. Professor, if Rogue stays, I go.
My apologies, Herr Professor, but we all go.
So one thing that I think is interesting, and we talked, you're saying Storm being desexualized or at least they didn't take the opportunity to sexualize her when she is in her attic with her plants.
Right.
When we first are introduced to the binary design by Cockrum, she's a bikini wearing red flamed woman, right?
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting about this is that when she goes Carol Danvers, it's one suit, which has an outline of a bikini, but it's actually a suit. It looks like her skin isn't red.
Right.
Right. So actually, that was an interesting, and I'm guessing an intentional choice because it looks so much more like a suit and less like she's wearing beachwear over her red flaming body.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Agreed. I see. We pick and choose who we help. Is that it? Some are worthy, others not. Who was it, Aurora? Told me Wolverine was an X-Men, not because of his sterling character, but his potential for good.
I think you meant to say cactor. Sorry.
You gotta blame Louise Simonson on that. She should have.
Well, it's because she's fallen in love with Walt, right? So
that's right. She's dazzled by that really good drawing of Storm.
You got it.
Which, by the way, looks way better uncolored. It looks muddy, but it looks really good uncolored. The lines are really nice. That to deny him, though we abhor his violent nature, would thereby deny our true reason for being, which is to help him achieve that potential. The same argument holds true for Rogue, does it not? Of course, there's a risk in accepting her. But consider the alternative. At least with us, she has a chance for a better life. Deny her and we condemn her outright. And that I will never do. to any mutant so long as breath remains within me.
I trust you as I would my own father, Professor. So I will put aside my fears and give Rogue her chance. I ask my friends to do the same. I will if I have to, but I won't like her. Ever. Weit, mein Herr, Juven.
Carol, what do you want from me, Charles? Understanding? Approval? I'll concede one, but not the other. Rogue tore my life, my very soul, to shreds, and those scales can never be balanced. I'm sorry. I'm just not that forgiving. I have nothing to lose here, Charles. No real ties to break. That makes my decision easy. I'm not an X-Man. And all of a sudden, I'm glad.
Charles is like, and you never were!
But like there you like see Simonson's one of his awesome graces, like the power of her powers. Like it just, yeah, he's amazing at that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Will she be back?
In her own time, perhaps, Fraulein, when the hurt is less.
Aurora, Carol is right. Oh, okay. And you are right, Professor. So which is the better road to follow? Like all of you, that is a decision I must make for myself. What now, Wind Rider? Would that I could soar home, free, uncaring as a bird, to the woman I was, the life I led. Does every adult yearn so for childhood? Every person face such awful dilemmas? I wish I were the goddess men thought me in Africa. For then, with a wave of the hand, I could cure every ill, make everyone happy. But I am only human, and must therefore cope like everyone else, as best I can. This is my moment of truth. I want to leave, yet duty demands I stay, though that means accepting Rogue. Whatever I choose, I will no longer be the woman I was, but what will I become? Aurora or Storm? Which is it to be? Next, Scarlet in Glory.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It's neat for many reasons, my friend. One, on the most superficial level, it changes the gender makeup of the team over one more step. Now we're going to have 3 girls on the team, right?
Yep.
Which is like slowly, increasing bit by bit.
Yep.
And I think that becomes kind of the norm for X-Men forever moving forward, is that it's a very vibrant place for female characters. And it's not an issue. Like, it doesn't really, it doesn't matter here nor there, but it seems to be that it's shifted from the original, 4 characters with 1 girl, and then the revamped bring in 4 new guys and a girl. And now it's like, no, we're kind of 50-50,
Yeah.
And this is that gender template, I think, forever moving forward for the most part. Yeah, Binary, I guess, is now kind of out of the series. I wonder if we're going to ever see her again. I'm okay if she's gone. She doesn't add a lot for me personally, but that's okay. And man, oh man, I mean, to have Rogue on your team, like, what a bunch of powers that brings.
Yeah.
Right? And I wonder what the dynamic is going to be like between her and Kitty for a while, like who the pecking order. Right? Kitty's no longer maybe she will be the low rung on the ladder, but she might not think she is. Kind of neat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a new dynamic, right? And they're very good at, Claremont's very good at the dynamics. Each has their own unique role in the team, and this is like another play on it. And when you think you've nailed down the various characters, another one comes in and This one has the, is she gonna be the Storm brings it right up, like how can we trust her? How can we? Trust her? You got a character you can't trust.
I wish they had found a way to do this in the movie.
Yeah,
like early on that the character that comes in is like this character that they don't trust to begin with.
Yeah,
it really like I'm really, that's why I had to read the next issue. I wanted to see what would happen, and I'm really keen to see what will happen when she and Wolverine meet up. And is he going to be like, hey, you
I got one claw for you, it's right here.
Yeah, or is he going to be like, all right, kid, you're looking for redemption? Out of the frying pan into the fire, let's go. Here we go. I wonder if he's going to welcome her in, or what's his attitude going to be toward her. I've been watching a lot of cop TV while I've been working, and I've been binging on audio mostly The Rookie. I don't know if you ever watched The Rookie.
No,
it's the show with Canadian Nathan Fillion.
Isn't it a Canadian show?
I do not think it's a Canadian show, although there are.
Oh no,
Canadians.
I think there's something else. No, The Rookie is. I think it's based in LA, right?
It very much is based in LA.
Yeah. No, I think it's something else.
I think you're thinking, was it called Rookie Blue?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Been on like CTV or something like that.
It was very much filmed like at the police station at Dundas and
in our backyard.
University.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, this one, Nathan Fillion, and one of the other actors is like former Canadian Idol winner, So there is the Canadian voice on it is very strong, but it is not a Canadian show. Sure. My point was going to be that the show is, in essence, 3 rookie cops and their 3 training officers doing procedural.
Mm-hmm.
And the dynamics of, which rookie's in the doghouse this week, and what dramatic things from the training officers' past are coming up, and all the drama while they're doing their jobs. And I think about that Wolverine and Rogue dynamic, and like, is he going to be a training officer? Is he going to take her under his wing, or is he going to be a gatekeeper and be like, you're on the team, yeah, Charlie let you in, but you're not on a mission with me, like.
Or is he going to go full Denzel Training Day on
it? That's a whole other story.
That's a whole other level.
Yeah,
great movie.
I gotta watch that one again.
Yeah,
it's a good movie. So I'm really looking forward to the next issue. Paul Smith will be back next issue, and I'm gonna spoil just a tiny thought about the next issue.
Okay.
Maybe to entice you, maybe to entice other viewers. But the next issue is, in essence, I'll show you the cover because it's not a big deal. But there, it is a continuation of the Wolverine Limited series.
Cool.
In that the wedding card, the wedding invitation that Wolverine sent to his teammates at the end of the Wolverine Limited series, issue number 4, that is the cover with a knife through it.
Ooh, who threw the knife?
So obviously we're going to get some Wolverine. He's coming back into the series.
Yeah.
And maybe it's going to be the wedding, right? A wedding that gets spoiled. We don't know. I know, I read ahead.
Nice.
I couldn't help it. But I'm super excited to see what happens when we get to see Wolverine again. And I'm hoping we're going to Japan. And I'm hoping the X-Men are going to Japan. The X-Men are going to Japan. Yeah. Ever going to get to Jason Loves, Chris Kills? That's a great question. There have been some scheduling hiccups. David, that's a really good question. There is our friend Hoche Anderson is having a scheduling issue and a technical issue, and we're trying to work it out. But yes, we will get to it. And I'm really excited to read it through with him too. I've read that comic now 2 weeks in a row to prep for Tuesday nights, and it hasn't. We'll get there. We're being patient. Trevor says 172 was my first X-Men issue. Did you fall in love with it right away? Like, did it get you, or did it take you a while to kind of put it in context, Trevor? I wonder, because it doesn't read like other X-Men comics, if you know what I'm saying. Sanagan, you don't know what I'm saying.
I don't.
So I don't want to tell you, because I want it to be special for you. but it does not read like other X-Men comics. I'll put it to you that way.
Cool.
So I'm wondering how Trevor perceived it when he had a chance to read it for the first time. But I am on board completely. And yeah, there you go. Any other connections you want to make between this and the movies, Chris?
Nothing comes to mind. What comes to mind for you?
Just that Rogue coming to the team. You know, that's really it. It's really loose.
Yeah, and I guess even when I was thinking of, we were talking about that earlier, I was thinking of Kitty Pryde and X3, and she's not used really as a device in terms of like the new kid on the team. Like she's just kind of there, part of the team, right?
Yeah.
I think she's even teaching classes with Colossus at one point.
By X3, yeah.
By X3,
sure.
Right? Yeah.
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 And that's the only version, right? The Elliot Page version of Kitty Pryde is the only one.
Okay, there was a scene in X-Men where an actor
runs through some walls. Yeah, good call.
Just run through a wall. It was just like it was a student.
The young girl runs through a wall. Right.
You know, she forgets her apple, or she forgets to drop off the apple, drops it off and runs back.
Right.
I think.
Oh yeah.
That old gag. And everyone in the audience is like, Kitty Pryde, you know? And there's, you know, like an Asian actor wearing a yellow jacket. Everyone's like, Jubilee!
Well, that's in the Age of Apocalypse, I think. They go to the mall, right? And I think that she's there, right?
Check out the original 3. There's one of those that has...
one of them has them too? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But, no meaningful representation of Kitty Pryde other than, I think, Elliot Page's in X3. But that's the thing is the idea of that window character is universal, and it can be Rogue, it can be Jubilee, it can be Wolverine, it can be anybody, and just sort of like whoever was your original is the one you're going to be sweet for.
Yeah.
So it's Luke Skywalker for me, right? It's Luke coming in to learn about the Force and the galaxy and the rebellion and everything, and he's my window in. So yeah. But I like the idea that she's the antagonist, and I like a redemption arc. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Right. This is the reference to her. What's to keep her from walking through your walls or a bank vault? Remember that senator, that stupid senator, was talking about mutants have such power. They reference her in the opening scene where Dr. Jean Grey is giving that talk at Roy Thompson Hall. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, more Toronto.
Yeah. So much Toronto in that movie. It's great.
So
all right, dude. Should we call it?
I think we should.
There you go. What are you drinking, by the way?
Tea.
Coffee.
You know, tea. Yeah. But hey, I do want to say, Trev did say that you asked him, did it light him up in terms of did it grab him, and he said yes.
He loved it.
He loved it.
Oh, you see that?
I do.
He's giving us a wink.
A little winky wink.
We'll keep that in mind, Trevor. Don't worry. Keep that in mind. Plug. You ready?
Do it.
This Sunday at Heroes World in Richmond Hill, there's the Toying Around tailgate. Sunday, August 13th, from 10 a.m. until
question mark.
I'll be there with our comics and a bunch of my action figures that I want to sell and some prints and some art. You should come too. You should buy everything. Buy it all. Trade some action figures with me. I'm game. I'm going to bring some Marvel Legends that I am no longer in need of, and we'll go from there. Heroes World, Richmond Hill, Sunday. Mike Del Mundo will be there. Paul Sun-Hyung Lee of Mandalorian fame.
Yeah.
Who else?
I think I saw someone else. There's a couple
other people.
A few other toy peeps, and then yeah,
it should be a lot of fun.
It should be great.
A nice day outside.
Yeah,
eating fast food and trading toys.
Hang with Carson Teva, you know.
Yeah, he'll be there he's only gonna be there from 10 till 2. He has 2 store visits that day. I noticed he's going to Treehouse Collectibles in the afternoon.
Wow. Good for him.
Also, an awesome spot to hit, by the way.
I have
both.
Never been, but
yeah, you and I should go one day.
We should.
In one of our many places that we need to go for a hangout, deep in the Danforth. All right, so there's that. Then the following week, I will be at Nerdcore in Hamilton for another in-store event. So there's that. And then Fan Expo. We'll see how that plays out. And then you want to plug September?
September, Guelph Comics Jam, Guelph, Ontario. They've just announced a whole bunch of the lineup. That's pretty cool. A lot of people come to Guelph today, Saturday, September 16th. You can find me there. And then get into the fall, we've got a few more shows. Whitby Comic Arts Festival. We're doing a workshop in the Whitby Library. Got Guelph Book Bash. Got a few things coming up. So we will be around Southwestern Ontario.
Big time. Sounds good. Well, thank you, as always, Chris, for hanging with me tonight. And thank you out there in the internet for watching with us. Please click like, subscribe to the channel, throw your comments in the conversation below. Really nice to hang out with you, and we hope that you're enjoying this series and enjoying X-Men comics in general. And we appreciate you hanging around with us. There you go. All right. Take care. X-Men.
XO.
See you next time. Have a good night.